Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Johns Hopkins School of Education Mind, Brain, and Teaching Virtual Information Session. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Also here with me, I have my colleague from the Office of Admissions, and he will introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Sion, if possible, can you allow me to turn on my camera? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is James McCarty. I am the new Associate Director of Admission here at the School of Education at Johns Hopkins. I just started about a month ago, so I am still in the learning process, but I'm excited to work with all of you, chat more about your future academic opportunities at Johns Hopkins, and specifically with the Mind Brain Teaching certificate program that we offer. So I'm excited to connect with all of you, learn more, and Sion, I guess I'm passing it back to you.
Yes, thank you, James. We also have two faculty members presenting on the Mind Brain Teaching Program, Dr. Marielle Hardman and Dr. Ranjini Johnbull. And before we get started, please keep in mind today's webinar is being recorded. We'll be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. Lastly, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question and we will read and answer your questions. And for the agenda, I'd like to share the agenda for today's presentation. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. I'll introduce the two faculty members of the Mind Brain Teaching Program, and then Dr. Hardman and Dr. Johnbull will go over the details of the program. And lastly, I'll wrap it up with admissions requirements, financial aid, and leave the floor open for questions at the end. And to start, we are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. We offer 25 graduate programs, which includes doctoral, master's, and graduate certificate programs. And we're proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in U.S. News and World Report. For school enrollment, we have approximately 1,741 students, 109 full-time faculty, and a strong network of over 24,000 alumni at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. And to introduce our faculty members, first, Dr. Marielle Hardman. Dr. Hardman is a professor and director of the Johns Hopkins Neuroeducation Initiative. She's also the faculty lead for the Graduate Certificate in Mind, Brain, and Teaching program. She joined JHU in 2006. Her research and publications focus on enhancing educational practices through techniques that foster innovation and creative problem solving. And she presents nationally and internationally on topics related to the intersection of research in the learning sciences with effective teaching strategies, including meaningful integration of the arts. Next, Dr. Ranjini Johnbull. Dr. Johnbull is an assistant professor of the Mind Brain Teaching and also the Doctor of Education program. She joined faculty in 2014 after a postdoctoral fellowship. She received her PhD from the University of Virginia. And her research focus is on the teacher efficacy, cultural competence, social context of belief change, neuroeducation, professional development, and arts integration methods. At this time, I will hand the floor over to Dr. Hardman and Dr. Johnbull. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for coming. I want to really let the group know that we are represented by either those of you who are here with us or who have signed up and will listen from all over the country, East Coast, West Coast, and everything in between, and Indonesia, South Africa, Peru, and China. So we're really excited to have such an international and diverse group of attendees here for this webinar. So welcome. So before I get started, I do want to say that we are celebrating the 15th year of the Neuroeducation Initiative. We will have a very strong presence, as we do every year, at the Learning in the Brain Conference in Boston later this month. But I really would like to say, before we start talking about why pursue mind, brain, and teaching education, I hear a lot from prospective candidates. What would I be able to do with this certificate, with a degree? And the idea here is that it's unlikely that you'll find a job opening looking for a neuroeducator, right? Or schools probably aren't seeking out someone called a neuroeducator. So why would you pursue it if the certificate will not give you a credential that might be something that would turn into a job? Well, actually, there's a lot of reasons. So let's go through them. We'll start with the first, and that is being an advanced practitioner. So many people want to know, and this is how the NeuroEd initiative started. And that's with educators wanting to know more about how the brain thinks and learns, and researchers wanting their work to go beyond their labs and go beyond their academic journals, but to make a difference in the world. And so learning about how we learn, we think and learn, really does advance you as a practitioner, really in any field, whether you're in education or some related field. Next, with the leadership, so many of our graduates have gone into being leaders in various aspects, maybe at a school or school district. And many have moved on to leadership roles, even in business and industry, with the knowledge that they gain from the Mind, Brain, and Teaching certificate. And then the next is policy. Education policy has been one that is oftentimes divorced from what the research actually is. And so we really encourage our students to look at education policy through the lens of neuroeducation. And there's so many examples of that, but policy is really important in our field, and especially now. The next thing that I think that we would focus on is a lot of our graduates go on to become educational consultants. They have a lot of information that school districts are really wanting and needing, just looking at the approach to the learner and how we best service children. And this certificate will give you that information and knowledge that, again, many have turned into a consulting role, either within a district or even their own consulting business. And then finally, lifelong learning goal. We have many people who have come into the program who actually have had a good career already. Maybe they even already possess a terminal doctorate degree, but they're very interested in continuing to learn about learning. And so we have so many that come into the field that are, seasoned educators, and again, lifelong learners. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see some of the individuals who are actually in our program. Pre-K to 16 educators and counselors and school leaders, people who are in the field, in the profession right now. More and more higher education professionals have come into our program because they want to enhance their own offerings, and especially teacher preparation professionals are looking to take the knowledge that they gain in the Mind, Brain, and Teaching program and embed some of those concepts into their own pre-service courses. Leaders as well, looking at what knowledge we have that would make a difference in how they craft their own work. You know, one example is all of the research on sleep has led in many districts to have a later start time for adolescents because of the effect of sleep on learning and lack of sleep on learning. And leaders in industry as well are looking to this knowledge when their corporate trainers need to impart a lot of information, and they want really the best techniques for how to do that. I mentioned educational consultants. You know, after COVID, so many parents are interested in how to teach their children because they became their child's teachers in those 2 years where schools were largely closed or hybrid. And there are many people who come in and are instructional designers, so that they are involved in designing both face-to-face education and online education programs. So it's a myriad of different types of individuals who come into our program. So in the next slide, we'll take a look at what the certificate actually does. It is a 15-credit graduate certificate. And you'll learn a little bit later how that certificate, which is essentially half a master's degree, can be combined with additional courses, maybe a different certificate, for example, gifted and talented, or digital age learning, or administration and supervision. You'll hear more about that when Dr. Jambal talks to you. You know, our courses really start out with basically, what are the learning sciences? What should you know? What's not real in the learning sciences, and what is neuromyth? And then looking at ways that this knowledge can really inform real educators and those in related service positions in how to better teach, how to better work with students in counseling or in other fields. So it integrates research from many different disciplines. And I think that's the beauty of this, is that we're not just looking at education research, but we expand into what research has found within the cognitive sciences or experimental psychology, neuroscience, and then education research as well. And while you're looking at this research, all along in our program and in our courses, you're applying what you're learning into educational or related practices and policies. So it's really a research to practice focus in our certificate. It's offered in a fully online format. It's asynchronous, so there is no particular time you have to be online, although there are deadlines for projects and other kinds of discussions, etc. But you know, it is really up to you when you go online. We do offer some synchronous sessions, and students often like to have a chance to have an online session and meet other classmates on Zoom. So the time frame is 5 semesters. So that's 2 academic years plus 1 summer. And the courses are offered in a sequential order, and it's a cohort structure. So typically students are coming in the fall, and we have just begun a spring cohort as well. And so they stay together as that cohort through the courses. We can accelerate that, and Dr. Jambal will talk to you and show you a chart in a few minutes about what that looks like. But if you'd like to not go through 2 academic years, but to take it, the program in 1 year plus a summer, we have the ability to do that for you. And finally, next, the advantages of the program. We ground what we do in the brain-targeted teaching model, which is an instructional framework that helps teachers understand the research and how it informs educational and related practices. And it's applicable to any organizational context. As I said before, we've had corporate trainers who have really benefited from the work, as well as teachers and counselors and administrators. And so, you know, what we ask in all of our courses, again, the research to practice is to translate what you're learning from us into your own professional context. And so I'll end my part here with the next slide. And the brain-targeted teaching model has been at Johns Hopkins for about 16 years now. We teach this model across 5 different academic programs, graduate programs and doctoral program. We're very proud of the work that we do, not only within Hopkins, but also within our professional development. So the center book there is the textbook for the first course. And for those of you who know a little bit about my background, I was a school principal before I came to Johns Hopkins and became eventually a professor. And I really feel that knowledge and that work of being in the schools and working every day with teachers and parents and students has helped me guide and in the development of this program in mind, brain, and teaching. So thrilled to have all of you consider coming in, and I hope we see you in our courses. So now I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Jomble.
Thanks, Dr. Hardiman, and welcome to all of you again. It's so lovely to be here with you. Like Dr. Hardiman said, we have 5 courses in this graduate certificate, and we have a traditional structure that we've used since the inception of the program. We have a sequence of 5 courses, and it begins with explorations in mind, brain, and teaching. This course provides an overview of the learning sciences, where you learn some information about brain structure and function, misconceptions about learning and the brain, and you get to have a lot of instructional strategies that are informed by the learning sciences literature through Dr. Hardiman's brain-targeted teaching model. And what we try to do through that course is to model those brain targets as you're learning as well through our online modalities. In the second course, it's fundamentals of cognitive development. And in this course, there's a focus on typical developmental trajectories and the psychological theories of human development that cover birth to adulthood through the full lifespan. In the third course, it's neurobiology of learning differences. And here there's a focus on the spectrum of neurodiversity and the teaching and learning implications of development and different aspects of neurodiversity through an embodied cognition framework. And in the fall of the second year, there's cognitive processes of literacy and numeracy. In this course, we focus on the learning sciences research associated with the literature from those 2 major areas of learning. We developed this course in response to educators' interests in those 2 main areas because they are assessed in K-12 settings, and also because these sets of skills and cognitive processes are integrated throughout our lives and are critical to living a healthy, productive life in every context. And lastly, it's a course called Special Topics in Brain Science. And in this course, we focus on emotions, memory, and attention. And we survey a number of different fields that are explored through the earlier courses. Because in this course, we want you to see some of the other areas of the learning sciences that are applicable to teaching and learning and learning professions and the K-16 context that we don't fully cover in the first 4 courses. So it's an opportunity to just dabble in some additional courses, and you also get to have a capstone application project that's a culminating project of your choice, informed by a literature review on a topic that you get to choose. It's a very student-directed course and course outcome. So in planning, you get to take 1 course per semester at a time over the course of 2 academic years with that summer in between. And we also have in the next slide, you'll see another option. If you are interested in joining us in the spring, we in this past year added a new spring cohort, and it's a similar timeline. It's a 5-course sequence. It starts in the spring of 2023, and then it progresses through the summer of 2024. Same sequence. Also, we have an accelerated plan. Or option B, this is open to anybody who starts in the spring or in the fall. What we did here was we adapted our course structure in response to the desire of our students in our previous cohorts to take an accelerated path, because we were hearing from our students that they wanted to some of them just wanted to take the graduate certificate in mind, brain, and teaching. And to be able to be eligible for financial aid and federal student loans, you have to take a certain number of credits, and I think it's around 5 credits. So, and Sion will share more about that later, but we did this to help with our students' needs. And I think one of the benefits of being a part of the School of Education programs and the Mind, Brain, and Teaching graduate certificate is that we are responsive to our students' needs. And if you need to adapt your program or slow it down or accelerate it, we're willing to work with you to engage in the educational experience that you want to have. All right, and on the next slide, I'm just going to talk briefly about our online curriculum delivery. We're now using the Canvas platform as of this year. Our programs are built out to be asynchronous because we accept and serve students from around the globe. This allows for greater equity and access to our program and our content, which is a major priority for our School of Education and the Mind, Brain, and Teaching program. In your learning, you get to engage in video lectures, interactives, discussions, projects, student-directed choice on your projects, and synchronous sessions that are optional. We try to model what we preach and in our program through our online curriculum delivery. All right, on the next slide, you'll see some of the outcomes of the MBT graduate certificate. So we expect when you leave us that you have these 2 different identities, that you're research translators in professional practice, and you're also neuroeducators. As research translators, you will have gained skills for digesting the research literature. You will have deeply rooted yourself in bodies of literature that you've chosen that are relevant to your practice. There's lots of choice throughout the program to pick topics that are of interest to you. And you also get to produce projects that are immediately translatable to from research to practice. And also, you engage in learning experiences that mirror what we ask educators and professionals to do. We use the principles and practices in our teaching so that you're immersed in neuroeducation experiences. As neuroeducators, we expect you that you'll have gained essential knowledge concerning this nexus between mind, brain, and teaching research. And it's infused with culturally relevant approaches to integrating this knowledge into practice. You will get to leave with tools and projects ready for implementation for your professional practice, because we ask you to think about what you're doing right now and to take something that you're doing right now and tailor a project for the course around that. We hear from our students also that they serve as point people for knowledge from the learning sciences immediately once they begin the program and as they continue after they leave us. And what our students also do as neuroeducators is they leave as fluent online 21st century learners who are able to navigate and learn through and teach through multiple online modalities. That's something that's not on the slide, but I think it's worth highlighting. And here's something on the next slide that our students have to say about our MBT program. You can see here are a few quotes from our alumni who have graduated from our certificate. And I'll just read the first one. I was surprised how many times throughout this program my ideas went to policy and not just applications in the classroom. That's one of the things we find our students really enjoy, is that they find they're engaging in not just their immediate practice, but in other levels of educational activities and systems level thinking. All right, on the next slide, you'll see one of the things that I think is really unique about the Johns Hopkins School of Education, and it's that you can combine 2 certificates to create a master's of science in education program. And what this allows you to do is to design a more tailored master's degree to your professional goals. I want to say that this option is not a common option at most schools of education. At other schools of education, you would have to take just one learning specialization only, for example, a master's degree in only gifted education or only in administration and supervision. But here you can specialize in 2 different concentration areas and pair the Mind, Brain, and Teaching certificate with any of these other certificates that you see listed here: a certificate in autism, in gifted, in leadership and technology integration, administration supervision, or a certificate in urban education. We have a lot of opportunities for you to tailor a degree to what you want. We also have the opportunity for you to just focus on Mind, Brain, and Teaching and take additional electives to have an interdisciplinary degree that meets your needs. If you don't want a 2 certificate option, if you want a certificate option and then a variety of tailored electives. So that's also another option. All right, I think I'm handing this back over to Sion. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hardman and Dr. John Bull. So we're going to continue by going over the application requirements. Applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our school's website. Please keep in mind there is a $80 application fee when you submit your application. We'll need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Next, you'll need an updated personal statement. In addition to a personal statement, you'll need a scholarly writing sample. And this is a paper that was written for a prior coursework. And if you do not have an appropriate sample of scholarly writing to submit, as an alternative, you may instead write a brief essay. Please visit our school's website for information on the alternative writing sample. You'll need an updated resume that highlights any academic, professional, research, or leadership experience. And finally, 2 letters of recommendation for this program. The GRE is not a requirement for this program, and the Mind, Brain, Teaching program is currently accepting applications for the spring 2023 start term. There are a few additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process if you're an international student. You must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score, and if your degree was completed outside of the US, you will need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. Additional information can be found on our school's website. Here on the slide, you'll see a breakdown of the tuition for this academic school year. The online course is $972 plus a $20 per credit technology fee. Please note additional fees apply and are charged separately from tuition. We encourage you to view our tuition and fees page on our website for the most up-to-date information. And if you're interested in applying for financial aid for this program, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. The School of Education offers a limited number of partial need-based institutional scholarships each year. SOE's endowed scholarship awards range on average from $800 to $3,000 per semester and are applied to tuition expenses beginning in the fall semester. And to see if you qualify for the endowed scholarship, please visit the Grants and Scholarship page on the school's website, and please visit our school's website for additional information on financial aid. Thank you for attending the Mind, Brain, Teaching program presentation. At this time, we would like to open up the floor for questions. All right, so it looks like we have a couple of really good questions. And Dr. John Bull or Dr. Hardiman, let me know if you want me to read the questions or if you guys want to kick off the questions.
Yeah, I can start. You know, the first question is participating in the master's program through 2 certificates. You do apply to the individual programs. You would be reviewed separately, except that you have the ability to use your same letters of reference, etc. Sion, I don't know if that has been adjusted at all or updated. Could you respond from
Mhm.
the Office of Admissions?
Yes, Dr. Hardman. So no, nothing has changed. So yes, you apply for the interdisciplinary study program. And then from there, you also get a form emailed back asking which graduate certificate you would apply for. And then from there, again, whatever the admission requirements is for the graduate certificate, you would follow that. So yes, Dr. Hardman, you're correct on that.
So the next question is something that I'm going to ask Dr. John Bull to speak to, because she and I have been working really diligently on our publications around culturally responsive pedagogy. So Dr. John Bull, would you like to answer the next question?
Sure. The question reads, does the brain targeted teaching model take into consideration the importance of culturally responsive education for working with a diverse group of students or people? I really appreciate this question from whoever typed it. It's lovely. We have recently presented a paper at the American Education Research Association annual meeting on this very topic. As a matter of fact, we have described how to integrate both culturally relevant pedagogy principles with the brain through the 6 brain targets. And that is something that we are doing in our courses as well. And we are explicating this. Our paper is actually under review right now for a journal for publication. So hopefully it will get published. But we've integrated that paper and the content into our practices. I will also say that both Dr. Hardiman and I have our educational experiences are with working with diverse populations. And so that's our grounding. Our personal cultural competence and multicultural identities are incredibly important in terms of how we facilitate a learning environment and how we choose instructional activities and interact with people who are similar and different from ourselves. And that is one of the main principles and true essence of the brain targeted teaching framework, which begins with the emotional climate that runs through the entire instructional framework and all of the instructional strategies. It's about inclusivity, about honoring and building upon students and individuals' strengths and different multiple intersectional identities. And yeah, it's a lovely way to get to facilitate kindness, love, warmth, and inclusivity in a classroom and build upon the rich diversity that everyone brings with them into the classroom. Mm-hmm.
Dr. John Bull, I think I'll ask you to answer the next question about the EDD, and then I'll take the last one here about connections.
Sure thing. So in the EDD program, we have in the past, we took our 5 certificate courses and we put them on, as we like to say, we put them on steroids and put them into the EDD program. And we created different assignments for the EDD students. That is changing now as the program is going through a relaunch and a new, a redesign where it's not going to be an MBT specialization necessarily, but an MBT area of interest. So there will be fewer, it's still in the works. I'll just say that. And we are revising our courses in the EDD and trying to design different options for doctoral students to engage in not just one specialization area, but to get to dabble in multiple areas of interest. The course content currently is similar, except you have more of everything. And the assignments are different in that they are tailored to help you create products and writing that can feed into your doctoral research projects. So that's, and your dissertation. So that's how the current EDD is designed. Again, there are a lot of moving pieces because there's a lot of revisions happening to refresh the program. And again, respond to our students' needs and our different populations that are coming to us for the EDD degree. So stay tuned and check that website and the webinar for further details on the EDD program too.
Great, thanks, Dr. Jumble. And then the last question, when you get to learn about the brain targeted teaching model, the very first brain target is the emotional connection to learning. And whether or not you're teaching children in preschool or in higher education, that connection is important. And so we know that online in an asynchronous way, we still have to make sure that that connection exists. So there's several ways. So I would say that very early on in the first week of the course, we offer a synchronous session, and we really encourage everyone to come. We know because we do have students from around the world that not everyone can attend, but it is videotaped, and so we just make sure that everyone understands it. In that case, we go through the syllabus and explain the assignments and then answer any questions about the program. And then periodically through the course, and it really depends on the students and their needs and the instructor, additional synchronous sessions are offered. For example, if there's a big assignment coming up and students want to just brainstorm about topics, we'll hold synchronous sessions and encourage students to share their ideas. Most of our instructors also have open office hours where they're on Zoom, and they invite students who would like to just drop in and say hello, or they have a particular question. And then one thing I think that's been really powerful is that we do have group assignments, team assignments, and the instructor will put the groups, the teams together based on a couple of things. Number one, we are very conscious of time zones. And so, when a team needs to work together, if we have 3 or 4 people on the West Coast, we would put them on the same team so that they can communicate within their own time frame. And we also look at the professional work, the professional context. So if we can pair people together within a team of folks that have the same interests, maybe a group of special educators or people who are in the corporate world, we try to really take note of that when we assign teams. I just as a one interesting anecdote that I like to talk about is that the program, My Brain Teaching, started out as a face-to-face program. And then in 2010, in 2008, and then in 2010, we moved it fully online. For a while, we were doing them simultaneously, and then the online became very popular. So we moved it solely online. And at first I was a little worried about the online students, whether or not they would form connections. But lo and behold, that group, the 2010 group, there are teams that 12 years later still communicate. They share ideas professionally. They even get together personally. It's really just amazing to me. And over the years, I have heard that more and more, that they form bonds, especially, when they're first starting out. And those bonds have been lasting. So, we really want to encourage that. How do we make sure that you feel just as connected, even more so, in the online space? So there's another question, teaching model touch on special needs education, neurodivergent relation, migrant, if that. Okay, I think that question went away.
Sorry, I just answered it. If it goes into the, sorry, I just typed in the answer just in case we didn't get there. If you go over to that answered category. I just responded that yes, the neurobiology of learning differences course covers neurodiversity, students with special needs, autism, and implications for educational practice. That said, if you want deep knowledge specifically on autism, the certificate on autism is a wonderful program to learn deeply about autistic learners and associated practices. So Dr. Hardiman, did you want to add on to that?
No, I think that's it. I think, all the way through, as you mentioned, both of us as the faculty leads in this program have deep experiences in diverse student populations, and we just really make sure that is permeated throughout our courses. And I think I already answered this last question that I see in front of me about connections with instructors and professors. So I think we answered that. So Sion, we'll turn it back to you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hardman and Dr. John Wolf, for the wonderful presentation and for being here today. I'm going to actually move on to the next slide. So here on the slide, we have some very important contact information. Any admissions related questions, please reach out to my colleague, James McCarty. Any program related questions, Camila Mika Sims, Senior Academic Program Coordinator, and of course, Dr. Marielle Hardman's and Dr. Ranjini Jambal's email address is on this slide. Thank you so much for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, everyone.